Hello! In this episode in my series about music composition techniques, we will look at the pivot pitch approach to connecting chords. We will start from an example in a Tchaikovsky Symphony and then we'll write our own chord progressions in a modern musical idiom. What is the pivot pitch chord change technique? Essentially, it implies that we use one or more common pitches when connecting chords. This enables us to move between remotely related non-diatonic triads. This method emerged in the classical and romantic music period, say from the late 18th century. Music theory always points at Schubert's scores as the textbook example. However, we will consider a somewhat later example from the second movement of Tchaikovsky's Fourth Symphony. Here is a fragment from this slow movement in A-flat, a transition starting at bar 110 and retranscribed in a 4/4 time signature. Let's listen to a piano rendering. We'll have a closer look at the chord connections. The first is going from A-flat to B, two non-diatonically related major triads. The root ascends by 3 semitones, notated as a root cycle R-3I. The common pitch is E-flat, the chordal function 5 in the A-flat major chord. It becomes the third D-sharp in the B major triad and acts as a pivot pitch. I will play that connection of two major triads, stressing the overlapping pitch. Tchaikovsky repeats that process 3 times, creating a symmetric division of the octave with roots A-flat, B, D and F. In the symphony there is a modulation to F major. Here we return to A-flat. Note that Tchaikovsky uses inverted position chords and open and contrary motion in the outer parts to create a feeling of climax. There's another, more interesting example of pivot pitch chord changes in the same movement. Let's listen to the transition starting at measure 54. Studying this fragment in detail, we see a double pivot pitch, F sharp and A, connecting the diatonically related triads D major and F sharp minor, corresponding to an upward leap of a third in the roots. Here is the audio. The next connection is the chromatic step from F sharp minor to F major. Here the common pitch is the A. The root cycle is notated as RI, a descending semitone. This chord change may also be found in Prokofiev music, such as his classical symphony. The pivot pitch chord change technique offers various possibilities for connecting chords, also when their relationship is non-diatonic. I will show the options in the diagram. So, the starting point is either a major or minor triad, here on the root C. In small caps we see the sets of common pitches. There are 3 sets of double pivots, see the C plus E plus G and C plus G on the left. Also, there are 3 single overlapping pitches, for example the C, E-flat and G on the right. This yields 12 possible chord connections. In diatonic harmony we use double pivots to connect triads that are a third apart and single common pitches when the roots are a fifth apart. A more interesting feature is when the single overlapping pitches connect non-diatonically related triads, shown here as boxed chords, where the roots are either 1, 3 or 4 semitones apart. Now the triads are more remotely related to the starting chords. They lie at the edges of the diagram, and this is the main subject of this video tutorial. The evolution of the pivot pitch chord change technique is illustrated with 3 composers. Schubert, in the early 19th century, connects parallel chords and keys that are a minor or major third apart. In the second half of that century, Tchaikovsky extends the set to the chromatic shifts from major to minor and the reverse. The latter can also be found in 20th century Prokofiev compositions in a neoclassical style. Now it's time to apply this technique and come up with our own chord progressions in a contemporary musical idiom. Here's the first example, a 6-bar turnaround in A flat, to be used as a transition section. It contains 2 non-diatonic pivot pitch chord changes, 3 semitones up when moving from A flat major to B major, and root cycle R minus 4i when going from C minor to E minor. The chordal functions of the common pitch are shown above the staff. There are 2 chromatic chord shifts, the ascending semitone when connecting the B major chord with C minor, and the chromatic root cycle Ri, a descending semitone when going from E minor to E flat major. The transition closes with the diatonic root cycle R5, the descending dominant tonic cadence E flat to A flat. The transition is set in a 16th note funk rock style at 84 beats per minute. The example is played by the rhythm section without drums. The second transition is somewhat longer, with a total of 9 measures and 6 single pivot pitch connections. There are 3 non-diatonic chord changes, A flat to E major, F minor to D minor, and D flat down to A major, with roots a major or minor third apart. We use 3 chromatic shifts, from E major a semitone up to F minor, D minor a semitone down to D flat major, and A major to B flat minor. Also, this transition closes with a strong 2-5-1 cadence, B flat minor to E flat major to A flat major, corresponding to 2 R5 root cycles. And here is the audio rendering in the same musical idiom. After we have created 2 chord progressions with this technique, let's put it all together in a small composition. In this funky rock piece, we use the Tchaikovsky quotes as introduction and coda. The central element is a 4-measure riff that we will connect with the new transitions. We will use each transition twice, first as a whole note sustained setting, then returning with rhythmic chord durations. The instrumentation is for a rhythm section with added percussion. There are 3 lead synthesizers with different sounds. The 6-piece horn section consists of trumpet, 2 trombones, and alto, tenor, and baritone saxophone. While the music is playing, you will see an annotated condensed score. Remember that this example piece is about the pivot pitch chord connection technique. This brings us to the end of this tutorial. We studied the pivot pitch chord change technique for connecting remotely related non-diatonic triads. This technique is particularly suitable for applying in bridge sections, transitions and turnarounds, and for key modulation in longer pieces and development sections. I hope you found something useful in this episode, and here are some suggestions for where to go next. In case you have problems with reading some of the abbreviated and symbolic notation, you may want to watch the episodes about the nomenclature in the Schillinger system of musical composition. For learning more about writing for a horn section in popular music, there is also a dedicated episode in my YouTube collection. If you're a new visitor, please subscribe to my channel. If you're interested in musical analysis of classical and tonal music masterpieces, order the ebook from my website. Support my efforts or consider taking online lessons. Thanks for watching.